Hi, welcome to our channel.
I hit dead on with it though. Actually, perfect. Hey everybody, welcome back. Today we're going to be taking a look at a concept that I have been a fan of for quite some time, and that is training with a 22, and will that training carry over to the centerfire counterpart of that gun. So let's get into it and let's see if training with a 22 really does pay off and if it's worth the time and the investment. Alright, first off I want to start by saying that training with 22s is not going to be for everyone. Unless you're putting a significant amount of rounds downrange per year, it's not going to really benefit you to put the money and time into a 22 trainer. You would be better served to take that money and just buy centerfire ammo and train with that. But if you're like a lot of people, myself included, and you're not made of money, this is an investment for me. So getting this 22 trainer and getting it set up is something that has paid off in the long run. I've been shooting this one for several years. I've got over 30,000 rounds through this 22. And I have gained a lot of experience and repetitions and just everything across the board that I just simply could not have done with 5.56. 22 obviously is a lot quieter too, so it's just a more enjoyable, it can be a more enjoyable experience. You know, maybe if you're teaching somebody new also, this thing comes in very handy for that. But with that said, it's not going to be for everyone, so just keep that in mind. If you're not the guy that shoots a lot, or you're the guy that has got a whole lot of money, this isn't going to make sense for you. But for the working man that wants to better himself as far as when it comes to firearms use, 22s make a lot of sense as trainers. I'm also, in the future, I might do another video on this, basically the same concept but with pistols. So 22 trainer pistols versus their centerfire counterparts. We'll just see in the future. But one thing you've got to do is you've got to be honest with yourself. You know, if you've got a Ruger 1022 and you're practicing with that, that's good and all, but that's not going to carry over, you know, to the AR platform. I understand it's all shooting, but it's just an entirely different ball game. So if you're doing this, you've got to have an actual 22 rifle, in this case, that replicates your centerfire counterpart that you're trying to. You know, it needs to be the same weight, it needs to have the same balance, it needs to have the same features. Basically, we're trying to make it as much like the other rifle as we possibly can. These two rifles are totally different. This 5.56 gun down here is one that I built. It's kind of a Frankenstein build, but it's a good quality rifle. This 22 rifle started off life as a Smith & Wesson M&P. I completely customized it to suit my needs. Those Smith & Wesson M&Ps are great guns, but they're super, super lightweight. And in this case, that won't work. The weight has got to be the same. This rifle weighs almost 8 pounds. And the 5.56 rifle that I'm going to be using weighs about 7.5 pounds. So they're real close on the weight scale. They have the same stock, same grip, same trigger. They have different optics, but they're both 30mm diameter optics. They're both red dots, and they're both 2 MOA dots. They both have the same vertical grip. The one on the 5.56 has been chopped a little bit, but it's still the same grip. They both have a 15-inch handguard. They have the same panels on them. They both have the same sling. You get the idea. It is extremely close. I mean, you could pick these two up in the dark and you really can't tell which is the 22 and which isn't. People pick this thing up and they just can't believe this rifle is a 22. So with that said, just be honest with yourself. If you're going to get into the 22 training, you've got to really kind of go all the way with it. You've got to have a real 22 trainer, you know, not just, you know, an old 22 you've got laying around and call that training. You've got to have a dedicated trainer. So the way we're going to do this test is going to be super scientific, and that is a dad joke because it's really not scientific. We're just going to use the shot timer. We're going to shoot A-zone targets. We're going to shoot, all the tests are done at 7 yards. So I'm using an A-zone center mass target and then a B-zone head target is the two targets that I'll be using. Like I said, at 7 yards. So I'm going to do a total of 6 tests, and we're going to average the time out for each. So we're going to run it 5 times with each rifle and get the average, and then after it's all said and done, I'll show you all the times, and we will add all of those averages together and see which rifle across the board came out on top. You know, will the 5.56 be super slow because it has more recoil? And will the 22 be super fast because it has no recoil? That's what we're here to find out. So I'm gonna explain the first test to you, and we'll get into it and go from there. Thing I wanted to mention before we get into the like test protocol is I am not advocating for 22 training only. That is not what I'm saying. You most definitely have got to get out and train with your centerfire rifles. You've got to make sure they work, and that is the most important. I'm not saying that at all, but what I am saying is if you are going to put a lot of rounds down range, a 22 can be a great way to work on a lot of areas and become more proficient without a lot of money. So I just wanted to throw that out there, that for anybody that's already typing down below, I am not saying that you can train only with 22. I'm saying it is just another method to become more proficient. Just wanted to get that in there. Alright, so for each test, I'm going to run each test 5 times with each rifle, and I'm always going to start each test with the 5.56 gun. Also, I think it needs to be noted that when I did this test, I had not shot that day at all, and I ran all the 5.56 drills first, then the 22 drills. So it could have had a different outcome if I ran maybe the 22 and then the 5.56, I don't know, but I ran the 5.56 first, then the 22. So the first drill that we're going to do is just going to be real simple. I already explained the distance and the targets that I'm using. I'm just going to be aimed at the feet of the target, and I'm going to be looking over the top of the optic, and on the beep from the shot timer, I'm just simply going to come up and fire one shot. And I'm going to do that 5 times with each rifle and then get the average. So let's check that out. Alright, so the next test is going to be kind of more of the same. It's going to be the exact same drill, but this time I'm going to be at the high ready position. So on the sound of the shot timer, I'm going to drop down and fire one shot. The next test is going to be reload. I'm simply going to have 1 round in the gun with an empty magazine, and on the sound of the timer, I'm going to come up and fire 1 round. I'm then going to perform a reload and fire 1 more round. And we're going to do that 5 times each and get the average. Alright, for this next one, I'm just simply going to be, once again, aimed at the feet of the target, looking over the optic. I'm going to come up, I'm going to fire 2 rounds center mass in the A zone of the target, and then I'm going to fire 1 round in the head. I think this drill has different names. Some people call it a failure drill, but it's just real simple. 2 in the chest and 1 in the head. Once again, 5 times with each gun, then get the average. All right, the next drill, I have 2 targets now, and the targets are approximately 5 yards apart. I'm still at the same 7-yard distance. I'm going to aim at the feet of the right-hand target. When the shot timer, I'm going to be looking over the optic once again. When the shot timer goes off, I'm going to come up and fire 1 round into the A zone of that target, transition to the other target, and fire 1 more round. Then I will come back to the right target, reset, and do it again. 5 times each, get an average. The 9-1. 9-6. 9-3. 8-8. 8-8. 92. 95. 92. 99. 92. And last but not least, I'm going to do a bill drill, which if you're not familiar with that, which is simply low ready, looking over the top of the optic. On the sound of the beep, I'm going to come up and fire 6 rounds into the A zone, and I'm going to do that 5 times with each rifle and then get an average. So let's check that one out. As you can see, those numbers really don't lie. The times are really close on these two. It kind of shocked me how close they were. I definitely think if you did an extended string of fire, so let's talk about maybe 10 or 15 or even 20 rounds, that the 5.56 would start to be a little bit of a detriment there. You are going to be able to go faster with a 22 with those super high strings of fire. With that said, I expected that to show up on the bill drill, and I actually was able to run the bill drill faster with the 5.56, which is really interesting to me. I pretty much say it's a wash. I think they were pretty much a tie. I'm going to give you the final number here at the end, but I did it faster with the 22 on a couple of those things, and I did it faster with the 5.56 on others. And to be completely honest, you know, I can't take the human error part out of this drill. So if I was to go back and run this exact same test again, it may come out completely the other way around. So, you know, the 5.56 might be faster on some, and then this time the 22 would be faster on some. With that said, I think it proves the point that training with a 22, if you're serious, if you actually, you know, be honest with yourself and set up something like this, can be beneficial. This thing allows me to put a lot of rounds down range, just working mechanics, working transitions, coming up, working reloads, that would be really hard to afford for just a normal working guy like myself. So with that said, the final number, I'm sure everybody is kind of interested. I took all of those averages, I added them together, and then divided it by the number of drills, which was 6 different drills total. And the total, I guess we'll call it the score, because it's not really, time-wise, it doesn't really matter, but the total score that each rifle came out with, the 22 was a 1.14 total average time, and the 5.56 was a 1.13. So across the board, all those drills put together, I was actually 1/10 of a second faster with the 5.56. So I think that really does kind of prove the point. I've been preaching this to a lot of people for a long time, and people hear the idea of training with a 22 and they turn their nose up at it and don't want to hear it, but they get outshot a lot too. So I'm not trying to sound like a know-it-all or anything like that. Hey, I'm always learning. I'm always willing to learn something new, and I'm always willing to try to help somebody learn as well. And I think today I've kind of shown that 22 training, if taken seriously, you've got to take it seriously, can be beneficial. If you're just out flipping tin cans with your 22, that's probably not going to really help you a lot. But if you'll get down on the range and actually take some serious shots and do some serious training and get some good repetitions in, it can make a big difference. I'm a firm believer that practice does not make perfect. Perfect practice makes perfect. So if you'll get down there and be honest with yourself and run some drills with a 22, it can carry over to the centerfire counterpart. That pretty much wraps it up, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. If you did like it for real, and maybe drop a comment below. I'm always open to constructive criticism or non-constructive criticism. Some people are going to argue that this is completely dumb, and hey, that's your opinion, and it's your right to have that, and I'm okay with that. Also in the future, like I said before, I may do this exact same video again with pistols. This is the Glock Model 44. It's a complete clone of a Glock 19, except chambered in 22 long rifle. We saw how it turned out with rifles, so I think it would be quite interesting to see if the same concept will carry over to 22 pistols. So be looking for that video in the future, and until next time, thanks for watching. I appreciate everybody. Like and subscribe. We'll see you. So there are both my targets. Here's the main target that I put the majority of the rounds in. You can see them all there. All of them right there in the head. Here's the target that I was doing the transitioning to. See all the hits there. Did have one miss, and I'm not sure exactly when that was, but somewhere at all these shots I did have that one miss. And then these two shots here are when I was confirming zero before I started recording. I fired one shot out of each rifle just to make sure they were both still zeroed. But there are both the targets that I was using for this test.